never understood how people could, lose their houses, ruin their lives because of gambling. And then in the last 3 months, I absolutely deleted half of my savings because of gambling. I understand now. It just became like a normal occurrence for me to be down $2,500 before noon, and it kind of just distracted me from a lot of stuff.
My name's Mike, just turned 40 years old, and I've been addicted to gambling for the past 24 years. That's right, more than half my life I've been addicted to gambling. I got addicted to gambling when I was 16 years old from playing poker, and that's where it all started for me, and that's where the journey began. So I just wanted to let you guys know, if you guys were new, kind of give you guys the rundown of what this channel is about and who I am. So let's say about 4 months ago, I decided to stop gambling. I had a really big loss, and enough was enough. Losing money like that is just not cool anymore.
Gambling addiction should be more addressed in today's society because it can turn you into a liar, it can turn you into a thief, it can even turn you into a bad parent. It will turn you into everything but yourself. The fact that gambling became so accessible put many people in danger, especially kids who can easily fake their ages in order to access gambling sites. So today we're going to listen to the victim's testimony to see how gambling ruined their life. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let's start.
Gambling addiction pushed me into debt from a very young age and kept me there for an embarrassingly large percentage of my life. I remember as soon as I turned 18, I'd already had experience playing fruit machines at motorway service stations and things like that. I went out and got credit straight away, like literally on my birthday. I went and got an overdraft with HSBC and a Barclay card. And no exaggeration, 6 to 7 days after those going live, they were maxed out. And it just didn't make sense to me to only gamble with my money. It was like, let's get money to gamble. And I remember my mum being suspicious at the time of what I was up to, and I was petrified of the letters coming through the post. So I went to the Royal Mail office 10 minutes from home and asked them if they could hold my mail there, because I found out about this kind of mail collection service where you wouldn't have it delivered. And I used to go there and pick up my mail on the way to work. But before it went live, they said to me, yeah, you can do that, but over the next week or so, you might get some letters come through just where the message hasn't got through yet. I remember every morning driving to work off our estate and sitting and waiting for the postman to come so I could intercept him to see if I could get the letters before they actually went through the door at home. And over the years, things just got progressively worse, because my attitude was always, if I can just get more money, I can turn this around. If I can get hold of more money, I can place this bet, double it into that bet, that's going to win, the landscape will be completely different. And I was just trapped in this headspace that was so dangerous, because it was like death by 1,000 cuts. I didn't realize how bad my situation externally, financially, was getting, because that was just my mantra almost day to day, week to week, just thinking about gambling. And it really blindsided me over the years to a situation that I just never thought I would get into.
What I don't understand is gambling is ruining so many lives and it's still legal, For example, consuming illegal substances is itself illegal. But when it comes to gambling, I think that the law is too forgiving. And I'm just wondering, is the government making money off of the people who are gambling? Are the casinos paying taxes? Because what I know for sure is when you win lottery, you will pay taxes. A huge chunk of it will go to the government pocket. So that would make sense that the government wouldn't want to stop that source of income by turning it into an illegal activity. So I don't know if the government is also getting taxes from the casino. And if yes, how is it? Like, are the people who win have to declare it and then pay taxes off of it? or do the government take the taxes directly from the casinos? So if you go into the comments, someone said, are you still in debt from gambling? And this guy, the creator, answered yes. So these are the types of mistakes that will follow you for the rest of your life, you know. This type of debts might affect negatively your future relationship. Even if you wanted to marry someone and that person knows that you are carrying this amount of debt, that person might think twice before accepting. Because what happens is when you get married, you have to share those types of debts. And for example, if you wanted to buy a house, you'd have to delay it because you'd focus on paying the debts first and correcting the credit score in order to borrow money in the future and be able to buy a house. And it just shows you how further back this type of problems set you compared to the others. So someone else said, I'm still struggling to find the difference between gambling and a gambling addiction. I wouldn't ever bet anything over £10 and I wouldn't bet anything over £100 a month. Would that still be classed as an addiction if I was to put £5 bet on per day, etc.? Having rules is a good way to manage yourself and your emotions, but I still think that this £100 would have been more useful if it was invested in an index fund.
I never understood how people could, lose their houses, ruin their lives because of gambling. And then in the last 3 months, I absolutely deleted half of my savings because of gambling. I understand now. It just became like a normal occurrence for me to be down $2,500 before noon. And it kind of just distracted me from a lot of stuff. I definitely just almost stopped valuing money. I mean, the losses weren't fazing me as much, and the wins weren't really fazing me either. So I don't know, it was just a really, really dangerous kind of situation, and it, I guess, continues to be. Everything was just like a number on a screen that didn't actually translate to like real life. If anybody wants to gamble, to make money, or to have fun, I highly advise against it. Yeah, wish me luck.
Yeah, people say the casino always win. Usually when people start gambling, they do it for the feeling, for that huge rush of dopamine or adrenaline that they get from it. Then once they sink deep into it, it becomes an habit. Once it becomes a habit, that's when you realize how addicted they are, because everything becomes automatic. They receive their paycheck, they gamble without thinking, and they do it for months and months and months and months. And after that, the paycheck won't be enough. Then they have to get into debt. Then they keep doing it. That's why you see some people wake up and owe hundreds of thousands of dollars when it comes to gambling. You see, like this person who said, totally get it. I didn't realize it was a problem until I stopped doing it for fun, but kept doing it anyways. Someone else said, I had to break off a long-term relationship because of his gambling addiction. I'm glad you realized this sooner rather than later. Someone else said, anytime you practice in something dangerous, it's best to set ground rules.
So I've been dealing with a gambling addiction for the past 24 years. My question is, have you guys ever worked all week, maybe 2 weeks, worked that full 40 hours a week, 8 hours on that paycheck, Friday rolled around, you went to the casino, maybe by yourself, maybe with a couple homies, and you lost it all. You lost the whole enchilada. You lost your whole check at the casino that you worked so hard for the past 2 weeks. You got that check, you went straight to the casino, and you lost it all. I know for me, I've been there, I've done that, it's happened, and I've lost more than the paycheck. I've lost 10 grand in a night a bunch of times, and let me tell you, man, it does not feel good. That ride home, terrible. The depression the next day, even worse. So if you guys are out there dealing with a gambling problem like me, I'm sorry, man, but gambling is evil. Gambling just destroys things and it messes you up. So what happens next after you lose all that money? You're at work for free, maybe for the next month, maybe for the next 2 months, recovering that money. Stay away from the casino.
Yeah, I remember seeing grown men crying like kids in casinos because they've lost all their money, and it is really heartbreaking. That's why I didn't put those types of videos on this one, because when you see it, you really feel bad for them. In the comments, someone said, ever since they made actual legit online casinos playing from my phone, it's been a constant long battle because I've won big and cashed out, but chasing that big win again has got me down over and over. This is how it works. Usually, when it comes to the application, I wouldn't be surprised if the algorithm lets you win your first time. And once you get hooked with that rush of adrenaline, then you will start losing. You'll start losing. And the problem is when you start losing, you'll try to recoup the money you lost, and you'll get further down into that rabbit hole. So you'll spend more and more and more. And the bigger the amount of money you spend is, the harder it is going to be for you to win back that amount of money. Someone else said 40 hours, 80 hours. I'll work about 70 a week, and when the 2 weeks come, I'll lose it all. I'm so tired. Yeah, at this point, it's better to seek help. You have your close one you can talk to. Don't be afraid of it. Don't be ashamed of it. Everyone here has their own problems. So speaking to a professional will be useful. It will be a great investment for you because it's going to save you a lot of money. Imagine blowing your paycheck every time you receive it. This one is crazy. He said, lost $2 million last year, put myself on the self-exclusion and never looking back. I have so many questions for this person. How did he come up with those $2 million? And I really hope it's his $2 million and he doesn't owe it to anyone that might harm him.
Today was another situation that happened where I was reminded of my gambling addiction. So I've just had my daughter's proof card back for her school photographs, and she's in year 3 now. But for the past 3 years that she's been at school, I've never been able to buy the photographs. Now, for her first year in reception, I can't remember how because it was 3 years ago, but I did manage to get them. But the other years, so year 1 and year 2, I couldn't buy them. Now, obviously I never had money because I was gambling my wage every single month, but my mum would offer to buy them for me. She'd send me the money for the photographs and I wouldn't order them. I'd say, I'd tell her I'd ordered them, but really I'd just put the money into the slots because for me, I couldn't buy photographs when there was a possibility that I could go and win back the money that I'd lost. Now she would ask me, Alicia, where are the photographs? And I'd say, I don't know, we haven't received them yet, just lying and lying and lying to cover up my tracks until hopefully she would forget. Now this year's different. I've got the proof card and I've got money in my bank because I'm not gambling and I'm going to go and order them straight away. I'm not going to put it off. And thankfully, I actually, every time it comes around again, I can order the photographs that I couldn't order before. So I'm potentially going to order all the ones that I missed as well.
This is what I was talking about earlier. Gambling will turn you into a completely different person. Because once you get trapped, you'll get your priorities wrong. For example, this parent decided to prioritize her gambling addiction to the pictures of her kid. Even though those pictures are not saving lives or anything like that important, it still shows you that it can escalate pretty quick. You know, it can escalate and it can get even worse. Because sometimes it can start with school pictures, then it goes up to school tuitions, then the kid isn't able to go to school anymore because the mom decided to gamble everything. So yeah, and I'm pretty glad that she got out of this problem. If we go in the comments, someone said, what an amazing accomplishment. It's the little things that makes a huge impact. I hope you're proud of how far you've come. Someone else said, I actually like this video and credit where credit is due. I can definitely relate about the lying and those days of using every cent I could find on gambling and living in fear. You should do more of these types of video. Here, unlike your other videos, it's not fixated on money, so fair play.
Today I'm going to tell you a story about one of my many rock bottoms in an attempt to show you that rock bottom does not always mean salvation. I started gambling when I was about 17 years old. And I won very big very early on and I was so excited and I kept chasing that high. And I ended up losing all of my winnings and then losing all of my pocket money and I didn't know what to do. So I got a job working part-time with my granddad, and I would do 1 day a week with him, and this is while I was at school, and he would pay me in checks, and I guess you can probably see where this is going. He would pay me usually £10-20 just for the day in a check, and I would put it into my account and it would go straight on the football every single time. And I was like, this is not sustainable. I can't keep going like this. So I needed more money, and I had a system. I thought I had a system to beat the system, to beat the bookies. So I started taking his checks and adding zeros onto them. So £10 would become £100, £20 would become £200, and so on. And as I did this, and as I kept losing and losing and losing, the checks had to become bigger and bigger and bigger. So they ended up ranging from £1,000, £2,000. I kept adding zeros, and eventually the largest check that I ever cashed and forged was for £10,000. And I figured that if this ever caught up with me, I would have made the money back by then. And I kept on chasing and chasing and chasing my losses, which is the age-old story with gambling. And I never won. And of course, eventually it caught up with me. One day I was on a family holiday in Dorset with my dad and my 2 sisters. And my dad gets a call from my granddad. And I can instantly tell from his tone what's going on. I instantly know, and I start panicking. My heart sinks. I'm like, what do I do? This is it. This is the end. I'm going to jail. So I start running around the house and looking for a rope, for a phone wire, for anything I can use to end it. And my dad comes up to me just as I'm doing this. And he confronts me and he goes, Josh, what is going on? And I lie to him. I don't come clean. I tell him that I'm trying to set up a business and that I needed money for this business. Because in my head, I think I actually believed that. I had a system that I thought worked, that would win me money, and that in effect was basically a business. It was an investment. So I don't come clean with my dad. I tell him that it's a business. And then we go back to London a couple of days later and we meet with my granddad. And we sit down and we tell him the exact thing I just told him, and he's threatening to press charges. And I'd looked it up at this point, obviously in a blind panic, and I'd seen that you could go to jail for between 7 and 12 years for major check fraud, which this was because I'd stolen huge sums of money, £30,000-40,000 at this point. And I was terrified, so I came clean. It took me to get to that point where I was being threatened with jail and my own granddad was threatening to press charges with me for me to come clean, and I told my whole family the truth. And he came out and said, listen, if you can pay me back this entire amount now, I won't press charges. So my mum got involved. My mum bailed me out. She paid the full amount alongside my other granddad, so her dad. And they bailed me out and stopped me from going to jail. And after this, I was so scared that I stopped gambling for a while. But unfortunately, this was only the first of many rock bottoms. I relapsed, and it took me so many years to get clean and to where I am today.
I'm pretty sure the relationship between the 2 granddads won't ever be the same. So yeah, unfortunately, these types of things are easy to when it comes to destroying families. So in the comments, someone said, gambling should be banned. No good comes from it. That's why I think that maybe the government is making money off of it. Someone else said, it's so wrong that every other addiction is illegal. Yet this is the worst one, and it's illegal and encouraged. There needs to be a huge change. Yeah, and especially encouraged, because nowadays you see gambling ads everywhere. Influencers, when you watch sports, when you play video games, when you go on your favorite video platform, it's everywhere. So this is it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know if you ever gambled in your life, because this type of things can completely change your future. Take care of yourself. See you soon. Ciao.